Okay, last time we finished day one lecture by finishing quiz one. Today we're going to be focusing on part two warfare. And this one will eventually be lit up in blue with the link to the first video. And the second one will be put up the link to the second video. All right. So on this one, it's not really fill in the blank. It's write down a couple of ideas and move on. On this, it's kind of a graphic organizer by the area and location. You got Britain and France to the west, Denmark and Norway and Belgium to the north of Germany from the German perspective, and Belgium northwest, I guess. And then Russia to the east and Poland to the east. Okay. So when you got these more free-form note-taking, you still got to fill things in. So for the Axis countries, write in 3 Axis countries. Germany, Italy, and Japan. You should be able to spot the German flag with the swastika, as well as the Japanese flag with the land of the rising sun. The Italian flag, I don't know, I don't see it there. I don't think that's it. It usually has a swastika in the middle, or not a swastika, a fascist bundle, which is a bundle of sticks surrounded by an axe. These look like the colors. Maybe this is it. No, it looks like a Swiss portion of the Italian flag. So those are the 3 main Axis countries. They call them the Axis countries because of their location. They run down the center of Europe, Germany and Italy. And then Japan thought it was the center of the Asia. So because they're in the center, they call them the Axis because things spin on their axis. That's the middle point. Like when you spin a finger on your ball, the axis would be the middle point. I don't know why my video is not showing. Oh, there goes I. Let's see if I spotlight myself. I want to shrink it. There it goes. Okay. You don't need to see anyone else. Let's see me a little. It's okay. Okay. So the next thing you want to add to your notes is the Allied countries. You really just need the first 3 or 4. Great Britain, France, Soviet Union. Remember, when Russia is communist, they're the Soviet Union or USSR. When they're not communist, you call them Russia. It wasn't as big as Russia by itself. Soviet Union had a bunch more republics other than just Russia. But that's the biggest one. I'd add the US too. Plus like 49 more. And then I get rid of all this extra space. Because I think the notes should be as clean as possible. Okay, let's go to the next one. Poland is invaded September 1st, 1939, World War II begins. Notice the boxes are not in order. I would probably do this on here and just delete. Hitler invades. So we get September 1st, 1939, War One begins. Hitler invades knowing that the Soviets will not have to fight. He was not going to have to fight a two-front war. Why? He had signed that Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact. Okay, so then protected Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact. And then he uses these blitzkrieg tactics. Blitzkrieg, blitz generally is a German word meaning to rush quickly upon something, but it's lightning attack from sea, land, and air. Lightning means super fast. Lightning is fast. And it's not just by sea, land, and air. It's from the front, the rear, and the flank. So you're just trying to overwhelm the enemy with with this overwhelming force. And they capture Poland in 5 weeks. And the Polish really fought hard, and they put up a decent fight, given that the Nazis had tanks and their artillery was still horse. So tanks are going to beat horses in 99 out of 100 battles. Because when you shoot a tank, the bullets shoot off. When you shoot a horse, the horse gets injured. Holocaust begins. Jews are rounded up into ghettos. And in 1941, there's death camps to execute political and social prisoners. I probably would skip the rest. I'd probably just write Holocaust, because that helps me remember the race and space theory. Space is the first part, the race is the second part. And that's it. Let's take a look at the visual, see if there's anything there that we need to pull. Basically, it's a cover-up blitzkrieg tactics. I don't know why I picked this one. This looks more like it's Holland or the Netherlands. Dutch windmills. But there's a clip. Let's see what that clip is. And I'll put it in the notes. And if it's a good clip, we will add it. Here's how I sneak in videos for you. I'll just do this. And I'll put it in the link. I'll go click, click, and then I'll try to play it. It may or may not work because it's kind of an old clip. Oh, it does work. It's an 8-minute clip on the invasion of Poland. Let's see if it works. Come on, work, dude. Okay, go ahead and play this. I'm going to pause the video, and then I will figure out my time. About 8 minutes. So now we're at 15. When you're done watching, just click play again. Okay. Okay, hopefully you're done watching and you saw some of that invasion of Poland in color. Hopefully you opened your screen and got a good view of it. Yeah. So I think that's worth saying. Okay, let's go to the next one. So basically, after the Germans took Poland, they did take Poland, and despite the French and the British declaring war, they don't help stop it. But basically now the Germans are covered to the east with the Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact and possessing Poland and possessing Austria, which they already get gobbled up. I think Germany still looks like a wolf here to me. But after turning east, the Germans turn north. Remember, they have Italy to the south, so they're protected there. And they grab Norway and Denmark. Actually, Denmark, then Norway. And they said they needed protection from a northern attack. So that's the direction they turn. April 1940. German attack north. Lose 50% of their destroyers. Why does that happen? That happens because the British put a bunch of mines in the sea to the north. In the sea right here, the North Sea, the British put a bunch of mines, and the German Navy, they run into them in this process of trying to conquer Norway. It's kind of like a reverse Viking invasion, Norway, where the Vikings are from. But now you have protection from almost all the sides for Germany. Oh, hold on. Protected from north, south, east. So that leaves one direction. And the only direction is west. So guess where they're going? That's right. These numbers are for your convenience. They go to Belgium. And like Poland and Denmark and Norway, Belgium is defeated quickly. Denmark and Norway, they didn't fight very long either. It was like few weeks. May 1940, 2 weeks. And for the Belgians, they were really trying hard to stay out of it. They tried to be neutral, but the Nazis didn't care. Totally unprepared. That's great. Here, if you look at this visual, this is the Maginot structure we talked about earlier in the course. The French put these really quite impressive fortifications. They're like concrete pillboxes where they would be dug in and they'd have these little shooting holes. And they were really quite effective at defense. And they were really they put them in the mountains and they were really covered on both sides. But the thing is, the Maginot Line only ran on the border of France and Germany. It didn't cover the French and Belgian border because the Belgians were neutral. But it should have, because in World War I, the Germans had attacked through that area, and so it shouldn't be surprising if they try to do it again in World War II. So even though this Maginot Line was oppressive and quite successful, it didn't really stop the Germans because they just went around it. It was incomplete. All right, I got to pause and check out my other class. You shouldn't even notice. Just keep playing. And yeah. Okay, let's continue. May 1940, the Germans roll in through Belgium and Holland. They keep going west. And if you look at the map here, that's why I have the map on the page. The map's such a key element. Belgium is here. Holland's here. Let's make this one bigger. Let's really fit the screen. Take a good look at the map. See Belgium, Netherlands. The Netherlands is Holland. The Netherlands is Holland. People from Holland, they speak a language called Dutch. I know it's kind of confusing. Why do you have 3 different names for the same thing? It is what it is. They can do what they want. Just like we speak English, but we're Americans. And some people call us Yankees, but that's all the same. Anyway, but now you can see the Germans moving west. Switzerland's kind of accepted because they're surrounded by the Swiss Alps. And it's so difficult to fight a war through the Alps. People usually give up. And Switzerland has been so neutral so long, the countries kind of accept it because they like the neutral Swiss banks. And so, yeah. But then you can see who's going to be vulnerable next, can't you? It's going to be the French. Let's see if we got enough notes on this and shrink the screen again. Maybe even a little more. Let's see. Okay. So now we're on to Belgium and Holland. They just basically the German Wehrmacht, which is the name for the German army, they just keep rolling to the west. And they get beat pretty bad. And a bunch of soldiers get trapped at this place called Dunkirk. There's this very famous tree. The soldiers are trapped there. Dunkirk's a city on the coast of northern France. And it's basically a withdrawal of French and British soldiers. But the thing is, they're trapped, and there's not enough military vehicles to get them out of there. And it's a successful withdrawal because the British government asked all the civilian vessels to help out to evacuate those soldiers. And it works. There's this film on it and everything. Everyone's real excited because so many soldiers are saved. Because it was looking like it was curtains for them. But look, you see they're under heavy fire when they're withdrawing them. And to have civilians come be part of the rescue was a thing. And everyone was really proud of themselves after Dunkirk. But Churchill was always one to tell people to calm down. He was like, yeah, that's great, but He goes, "Wars are not won by evacuations," and he does it in his very Churchill kind of voice with the cigar and the smoke. But basically, the French are defeated in 6-7 weeks. By June 22nd, 1940, France surrenders. That's a pretty bitter pill because, you know, France once had the biggest and best army in Europe, and now they're getting defeated in less than 2 months. After the German victory, the Nazis control the north directly. That's the part that's in green here on this map. You make it even bigger to show. And then the southern part is called Vichy. See this part that includes Paris? That's the part that the Germans controlled directly. The southern part is called Vichy, where they set up a puppet German government, where you had these French people that were working and collaborating with the Nazis. At this point in the war, Britain was the only one standing against, by July of 1940, Britain was the only one standing against Germany controlling all of Europe. North controlled Germany. Let's do that shorter. German controlled. South. Vichy government. By the way, not call a French person a Vichy unless you're trying to start a fight. You call someone a French person a Vichy, you should duck because there's a good chance they're going to swing on you and try to punch you in your mouth. All right? So don't do that, is my advice. Okay? Hopefully you hear me on that. Let's see if I can put the link into this one. All right. That's all I got to say about France. I would say it's worth looking at these cartoons too in greater detail. If you see the one cartoon, you see the French saving France for Germany. It's kind of making fun of all the hubbub about Dunkirk. This is a cartoon showing that the British are alone. I would know it's the British. See all the water in the background, and the quote is in English. All right, let's go to the next one. So the British are next because the continent's pretty much controlled by the Germans, and so the Germans launch what's known as Operation Sea Lion. This was a joke at making fun of Churchill being kind of large, rotund. The sea lions are kind of heavy, fat. And so the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, has these massive air raids day and night. And it really destroys London. And if you've ever seen the Chronicles of Narnia, you'll see that the kids are leaving London, and there's a few movies that show this a little bit, to go to the countryside to get away from the bombing in London that was caused by the British. And this is known as the Blitz. The 2-month-long day and night bombing by the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, it was known as the Blitz, and it really destroys London. And all you gotta do is click on this and look at all the blue dots, and you'll see it. It's also on the first page of notes, but it truly fails to break the spirit of the British. All right. So what part should we write down? Well, first of all, let's bring up the right one. Let's just jump right to the Blitz. Day and night. It lasted for, I think, like 57 straight days. Why did the Luftwaffe do this, the German Air Force? They were trying to get the British citizens to want to quit the war. They figured if they blew up London enough, they'd quit. But the British, were kind of salty. And they're like, I'm not quit. You can destroy our country, but we're not going to quit. And the one main reason they did that was because of Churchill and the British Royal Air Force. Royal Air Force had one tool that was pretty useful when being attacked. That's the RAF's abbreviation, Royal Air Force, your RAF reference. They used a thing called radar. Radar is the signature you get when it goes beep and it reflects the motion. So anything going over a certain speed will reflect back to the radar. So you see this like little circular thing and it'll go blip, blip, because it's now bouncing off something. Let's go ahead and get the date, August 1940. So you can get the, started in August 1940. I think it like ends late September, maybe even October. But the radar helped the Royal Air Force to blunt some of the German attacks. A lot of the attacks got through. But the important thing was that the British didn't quit. If you want to see the damage caused, you click on this first one, and you can see all these red dots. I would encourage you to click that. And then the important thing about Britain is it's not a total success for the Germans. This is the first time they don't capture a country that they were trying to capture. So it failed to break the British. But it's nothing really to celebrate either. London was totally destroyed. But it is the first non-victory, I would say, Hitler. And so that said, well, if you can have a non-victory, maybe you could have a victory. Maybe the Germans aren't invincible. If you click the second one, it's the same as the link on there. Let's see. I will.
The Battle of Britain turned out to be the big.
So it's 2.5 minutes. Go ahead and watch it, and then just continue playing this video. 10.5 minutes. So we're at like in the neighborhood of 33 minutes. All right, now we're going to finish the next slide. In June 1941, the Germans, not surprisingly, after Hitler calling the Russians all those nasty names like what? Part of the unholy trinity, communists, he does invade in what's known as Operation Barbarossa. Germans invade the Russians. And he didn't really learn from Napoleon's mistake. June is too late to be attacking Russia. If you're going to attack Russia, you want to do it in April at the latest because the Russian winter is long and it's cold. But the Soviets are unprepared because Stalin had his Great Purge. He killed a bunch of his generals. And there's this massive 3 million men attack. And he really goes after Stalingrad. But Stalingrad is not defeated. And I have a video clip about Stalingrad. That's in the number 15. And in fall of 1941, the Germans are stopped. What defeats them? Freeze and bylines. Hitler had given a no retreat order, and so eventually the German army surrenders despite that. He told the German army if they returned to Germany, he would have them shot for treason. So they don't return, and instead they surrender. So army surrenders, and they are truly defeated at Stalingrad. There's a couple of cool videos from Enemy at the Gates showing how intense the fighting was at Stalingrad. I would suggest watching all three and then moving on to the quiz. You may want to go back to those if you have more time. Let me show you how to answer the quiz. Describe Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg is a lightning attack by air, land, and sea. That'll do it. How long does it take Germany to defeat Belgium? You can't just write 2 weeks. You have to write takes Germany 2 weeks to defeat Belgium. Is the Vichy government in France? It's the puppet government. That's how you do it. Once you're finished with the quiz, Go back and watch those videos, and that's it for today.